You're smart, you're motivated, you want to do something big. You're on the verge of being a young boss, and we're going to help you get there. I'm your host, Isabel Garino, and welcome to the Young Boss Podcast, where youth is your power.
Today, I'm excited to introduce an extremely talented friend of mine who's established herself in one of the most cutthroat industries, in one of the most cutthroat locations, you guys. Once an American Idol and The Voice contestant, she's opened up for the likes of some of country music's biggest stars, and now a mainstay at some of Nashville's biggest and best Broadway venues. Fresh off her latest single, Bad Boyfriend, we have Laura Walsh in the house. Laura, welcome to the Young Boss Podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here, and all the way from Nashville, thank you for coming.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. I'm glad this worked out.
Yes. Okay, so we went to high school together.
Yes, we did.
I knew that you were a fabulous singer back in high school. You did choir, you did chorale, you did everything that our school had available for singers. But was this always the dream? Did you always want to be, in Nashville or singing or doing live music? What was the vision?
Yeah, ever since I was as young as I can remember, it's just been the dream in my heart. And I was very, very nervous and shy about it. I didn't really want to be super pushy with my parents or with anybody, but I would, anytime there was a talent show or an opportunity to sing, I was always wanting to do it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until actually I graduated high school, my mom was like, okay, well, what are you thinking for college? And I was like, actually, I just want to be a singer. And she was like, I really think you should still go to college. You have a full ride scholarship. So I did both. I went to ASU. I graduated in 3 years and wrote and recorded my first album.
Awesome.
And was traveling back and forth to Nashville all through college. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I didn't know that. So that's awesome. So back in, and that's funny. You're like, I did it in 3 years. You're like, Mom, I'll do it, but I'm going to do it as fast as I freaking can.
Yes, absolutely.
So then you graduate, and then what happens?
I graduated, I had released my album. My last semester of college, I interned at iHeartRadio.
Okay.
And made a lot of great connections through that to get opening acts for different country artists at the time that were coming through town. My plan at the time was to go on tour with this album, and I had some people that had promised things, and it fell short. And so I had to regroup and replan, and life went on. A friend of mine who worked at the radio station as a program director actually got laid off from his position. And he had this extensive just catalog of people in the industry that he knew. He knew the best record executives, the worst record executives, like he knew everybody. And when he got laid off, he told me that he'd be willing to move to Nashville with me. He really believed in me, and he would bang on all the doors and help me find the right people to connect with. And so I was kind of gearing up for, okay, like we're gonna move to Nashville now. And this was back in 2014. And he got hit by a car and he died.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it was just a really traumatic experience, losing a friend on top of, this plan for my career that just totally came to a crashing halt.
At this point, you've now had a deal that didn't work out.
Yeah.
You've now had all these promises that it's no fault to him.
Right.
Are now gone.
Right.
You're now in like emotional place. Did you ever hit a point where you're just like, okay, I keep getting roadblocks, like this isn't going to happen? Like, and did you want to give up at this point?
Not at that point. That's happened though. But no, definitely not at that point. No, at that point, I mean, it was definitely devastating, but I had so much, I don't know if it was just like delusion or what, like just so much hope and like belief in myself that, this is my calling. This is my life's, so.
Nothing was going to get you down.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you kept going.
Yeah.
And what happened next?
I was approached by Alice Cooper's team to audition for his Christmas show that he does every year. Jordan Sparks won the very first one.
Amazing.
And so I won that in 2014. And then that kind of prepped me. I was scouted by American Idol.
Okay.
And they recruited me for their 2016 season, which was supposed to be their last season.
That's also funny because a lot of people watch the show and obviously they see the, what are they, not interviews, but auditions. Mm-hmm. So they scouted you.
They scouted, what I learned is they have two different scouts. They have a TV persona scout and an artist scout.
Oh.
So when I got 3 yeses to Hollywood, it was Jennifer Lopez, Keith Urban, and Harry Connick Jr., so incredible judge panel. But we all went to Hollywood, and you could kind of tell the difference between the people that were more artists. They wrote their own music. They, did this for a living, and then the people that were just really great for TV. So yeah, it was interesting to see that.
That is crazy. And so reality TV is wild.
Yes.
And it's all a little bit of a show.
Yes.
So what did you learn there?
Oh my God. I walk in and I'm just like little green, innocent, like very, I'm a lot more callous than I used to be. But back then I was just so like doe-eyed, and like authenticity was my word. So I was like, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to be very authentic. And just seeing how like, I mean, it's reality TV, like it's not the most authentic thing. It's not what you're seeing on the finished, back half. And I respect the hell out of Ryan Seacrest. I mean, for one, that guy being able to speak just on the fly like that, and how that's a talent in itself.
Oh, he's amazing.
Yeah. And everything that the judges do, you kind of understand more when you're in it. Oh, this is the purpose of the show. And it does make sense. There's like however much money they put into it.
Oh yeah.
It's got to be polished and perfect, but it definitely is a little bit more rigid than the artist road, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
So Idol didn't work out.
No. I was okay with it though.
Okay, you're okay with it. You learned a big lesson.
I did.
And then how did that get you on your path to Nashville?
So I was really hoping that American Idol would open a door for me to move. I'd been wanting to move to Nashville ever since I graduated high school, but just wasn't the right timing. And the age was approaching where I needed health insurance. But I needed a job that was flexible. Using my degree didn't really make sense because it would definitely take away from the freedom of spontaneous gigs that came up, or, if I need to fly to Nashville to record or do certain things. And I was back and forth to Nashville quite a bit. Yeah, just working on networking and making new music. But I had heard about Starbucks. And they
do have good health insurance.
Oh my God. So I cried the first 2 days working there just because I felt so defeated at 26. I'm like, I've already done the minimum wage thing in college, and, just felt like I had been taking some steps backwards. But as soon as I like got a hold of myself and was like, you know what, I'm walking into this coffee shop's world. I need to, be humble about that and not, make this about myself. Like I'm joining their world, so I need to really learn and adapt. And I was like, I know this is temporary, but I'm going to make the most of it. And it actually was one of the most just exciting, fun, wonderful times of my life. It was like almost like out of Gilmore Girls, because we were in a drive-through, and we were in a retirement center. So we had all these like sweet older people, and like, it was just the cutest thing. And, a lot of the customers got together and threw a going away party for me when I moved to Nashville.
Oh, that's really fun.
It was so sweet. So that really prepped me for the move, to just to understand how I could do a lot with a little when it came to money and resources. And it has definitely positioned me today to understand that if there are major setbacks, or if I do get to a point where, money's not rolling in like it is in the good times, I know how to manage it, and I know tricks that I've learned then to
like
survive.
How to get through. Yeah. Okay, I love that. The music business is such an intense business. And it's very cutthroat. And we, we're talking before, like, hey, there are people that you can employ on your team, right? A manager, a social media director, or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, you are the business.
Right.
So when we talk about being a young boss, it's like, you're the boss because you're the business. So what does that look like for your day to day? Like, what is involved in getting these gigs and promoting yourself and having these contracts? Like, what support do you need? Do you handle on your own? Just tell me more about it as a business.
Before I moved to Nashville, everybody would say that there's not one clear-cut way to make it in the industry. Everybody's path is different. A lot of it is you just figure out as you go. I do think being physically there is so important, because there are a lot of last-minute opportunities and connections. And when you're planning trips, visiting from somewhere else, things might be a little bit more formal, but you're able to make just better connections, I think, with people when you're physically there. I started off, I knew a few people, but I really didn't know enough to have anything waiting for me. I'd had some other people that had made some promises that didn't go through as well, but I look at that as a blessing, because it got me out there and it got me motivated that, to think that there was something, and I do believe that. But I actually took 2 months off when I moved to Nashville and just enjoyed the fact that I picked my entire life up, moved across the country.
Literally.
Yeah, and I was like, I want to enjoy like this garden that's so different than the desert that I grew up in. But by the end of those 2 months, I was like so desperate to sing. I missed it so much.
Yeah.
That I was willing to sing for free if I had to. So I auditioned for a bar downtown. It was one of the like lesser paying bars, one of the organizations that is a little bit like, it's controversial. There's people that like really like utilize it, and there's most artists do not like that conglomerate, but that was my in, and I'm glad that I got to go through that route. And you know, I'd played at Whiskey Row in Arizona so much, but every time I'd go in there and I was like, hi, I used to play there, I'd love to play here. You know, I was never making the connect, and it's not as easy as it looks just like walking into Nashville. I had so many people tell me before I moved there too not to play on Broadway, that nobody would take you seriously as an artist.
Really?
Yes. So I was very afraid of it, but I got to this point of desperation of just, I'll sing anywhere for free. I want to do it.
Yeah.
And that just desire led me to performing some of the lesser paying bars.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like the fill-in girl as well. So I'd get like an in with somebody who would hear me and they go, oh, we need someone to fill in for this gig. So you say yes to everything.
Yeah.
So I said yes and kind of worked my way up to, you know, becoming that like it fill-in girl for different shows.
Yeah.
I was also working at Starbucks at the same time.
Okay.
So it was definitely a hustle, but it got to a point where it was, you know, too much.
To do both, yeah.
Yeah, and just financially, it was such a great just leap in the right direction.
Yeah.
So I parted ways with Starbucks, which again, I could sing that company's praises forever. They're incredible how they take care of their employees.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I started playing downtown full time, and then the pandemic hit.
Yeah, so Nashville stayed somewhat open. You closed for a bit.
Yes.
But what did it look like for you as far as live performances? Because just because it was like open didn't mean it's open in the same way, and you're not pulling the same crowds.
Exactly.
So what was that like?
Yeah. So then, of course, like it's very tip-based sort of dynamic out there.
So there's no one there.
Right. It's tough. But I think at the beginning of the pandemic, there were so many people that were like, we want to support, you know, service industry and artists and people that have lost like their main form of income.
Yeah.
We would do live streams, and then we would do like
fun.
Yeah. We do like the little pop-up shows or whatever was available.
Yeah.
We opened, and then COVID hit the town, and then they shut us back down again.
Yeah.
So it was definitely this like really
You're
bizarre,
open, you're closed, you're open, you're closed.
Yeah, but I continue to say yes to everything.
Yeah.
I went back into like survival mode of like, okay, like how do I make this last? And I think we all knew like it wasn't going to last forever. So how do you weather the storm and get through that? And in 2021, we'd opened back up fully. And at that point I was like, I just know Nashville's such a fun place and it's a destination. So I think there's going to be a surge of people that are coming from all over. Yep. And there was, and I was like, I'm going to just hustle and perform as much as I can. And as I did that, I started to climb the little Broadway ladder of different venues and get connections here and there and kind of better the places that I was playing at. And
That's awesome. I remember it was probably 2021.
Yeah.
That I'm literally walking down Broadway with my family, and I'm like, I know that voice. And I'm like, that's my friend Laura. And we like walked in, we're like, hey girl. And we just like sat in the back, watched you, and you did awesome. So you're a very, very fun and lively performer. And I feel like, you know, everything you post on social is so much fun. You're always saying like, hey, here's where I'm going to be. Do you find that you have people who kind of like follow you from, you know, show to show?
Yeah, I do. It's like the biggest compliment too when you have people that are like, oh my God, I saw you my last trip, and you know, I knew I had to come see you this trip. So that's always the best feeling. It happens quite a lot. And there's a group of like local people too that, you know, love to come out. Yeah. So that's always fun. I have a few that I call my stage moms because they're always taking videos, and
that's
awesome.
Really
sweet. Yeah.
Okay. The business of music, your, you know, talent is your voice, literally.
Yeah.
But what financial pieces are involved in this? Like, what does it, like, obviously you have amazing outfits, the hair, the makeup, the this, the that, and you've got to keep yourself like looking good, feeling good, like staying healthy, right?
Yeah.
So you can't be like eating ramen every night, you know? and although some artists I'm sure do, and they smoke and drink their life away, and that's, you know, to each their own. But like, you know, what is involved on your end of being like, oh, this is like kind of the level of, these are my expenses involved. Because it's not a storefront, it's not like a product, but you're the product.
Right.
So what does that look like?
So the pros of that are I can't expense anything that goes on stage.
Yes.
Outfits, hair, makeup, that sort of thing, which is great. The hard part, and I think this is what might trip a lot of people up, is knowing how to balance your finances that come in and really budget. So knowing that there's a budget for that and knowing the right places to shop, because it is like a costume, you know? So you want to have, but it also has to be practical. I've had a few wardrobe malfunctions the last couple shows. I'm like, okay, I probably need to buy something a little nicer that's a little more higher end, but knowing how to budget for that and then also set money aside for recording and equipment and all the things that come with that. It's just kind of, and it's different for everyone, you know? For me, what I am as an artist is totally different than like my guitar players or my drummers. Like their financial structure is going to be totally different. And then also like, what do they want to do aside from just playing that instrument? Are they producers? Are they into sound? Like there's so many different facets that go into the entertainment industry and music industry, or even just, you know, as a songwriter too. So kind of finding what brings you joy and using that as another like form of income is a great way to keep it rolling in and give yourself more than just like the fixed wages that come with like a show. Yeah.
I imagine that saying yes to everything would cause a lot of burnout. Do you feel like you deal with that?
Oh yeah. Great question. Yes. Oh my God. I was burnt out before I moved to Nashville. 2 months. 2 months though off was great because the itch is there, and I think that's how I just know I'm never gonna stop being involved in this industry, because it's like in my DNA. Like I just know this is what I'm supposed to do. And I really look up to artists like Katy Perry, that she was dropped from 2 different record labels before you know, she found the one that worked for her, and just hearing her story. So I can imagine, I know Maren Morris had talked about burnout as well. It's real. I think learning how to manage it, for me, treating myself as a person is important. So I took my first like real vacation this summer to Hawaii, and just like for the first few days I was like, I should be working, I should be doing all these things. But once I'd like settled down, it was so good for my soul, and just finding ways to treat yourself with love. I think when you're and knowing that rest is productive, and there's people told me before I moved to Nashville, there's not enough opportunity for musicians out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they said that it's really hard to get work, and that is the opposite. I'm always looking for, I need a bass player this weekend, and so there's always, I turn down work a lot. So I think finding that as well, that balance of what are the shows, what's the work that
you want to say yes
to. And that you feel like is fun or beneficial to you, like outweighs the draining element of performing for 4 hours. So
Hey, it's Isabel. Thanks for listening to the Young Boss podcast. I recently wrote a book called Young Boss, and it's filled with top tips I've learned over the years on how to survive and thrive in business. Pre-order your copy now by heading to the link in the podcast description. Now, back to the show.
I can imagine that at some point you're like, hey, I want to be on every stage. I want everyone to see me, hear me, know my name, because you're building the brand, the reputation.
Right.
And then it's like, when does that end? When are you able to be like, no, I'm legit, like I'm going to say no to this stuff? Or is it just, it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've hit that where you're kind of just like, no, I'm going to be choosy about what I'm doing now?
Yeah, I think I've hit that point downtown where I'm playing at, in my opinion, the biggest bars, the best circuit to be playing at. We're getting the most packed shows. There's lines wrapped around the building. They take incredible care of their artists at the circuit that I play at. So I think that makes it a lot more enjoyable to come and perform. And I'm such an extrovert. So if I was just in my room filming videos all day long, I think it would just make me sad. Like I love human connection. I love people. I love meeting all kinds of people. So I get that opportunity. being downtown to make that like in-person connection and encourage people to follow my artist career. But yeah, that's one element. And then of course there's the online presence. And so it's a balance, but I think, you know, everything comes in seasons and I choose to look at it as I've been very fortunate that nothing has been so overwhelming to me to the point where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like I gotta quit.
Because I feel like that's like a lot of artists would either have so many no's, and that's the nature of the music business, is you're literally gonna get 1,000 no's until you get that yes, right? So many no's that it's defeating.
Yeah.
Or absolute burnout. It's like, you're getting the gigs, but you're just like, oh my gosh, like it's seemingly nothing's paying off. And so I feel like from outside looking in, that's like the two things I'd be like, man, you have a lot that you're up against.
Yeah, actually the latest burnout I had where I was ready to quit Broadway, I actually got drugged on stage.
Oh my God.
Yeah, which is weird because, you know, it's a party atmosphere.
Yeah.
And you would think you should be cautious, but like when you're just in that type of environment, like, and people, that's what they do. They bring
you a drink, they bring you a shot.
Yeah. And that's like a form of just like them, you know.
Tipping you almost.
Exactly. Yeah. But I got drugged on stage.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I had like seizure-like symptoms. It was crazy. I had to go to the hospital. It was a weird experience, but.
Wow.
I was at that point, I'm like, this is not worth it to me. Like, what am I doing this for? And my boss that hires me downtown, he hates when I call him my boss, but he is. He talked me off the ledge and was like, let's look at this different. My motto has always been that I don't work for Broadway, I make Broadway work for me. Yeah. And he's like, Laura, lately you've been working for Broadway. Like, let's turn this back around. Let's approach the beast differently, is what he said. And after having that conversation and then really investing in myself and getting myself in an apartment that I'm so happy to go home to and making time for vacation and, you know, really treating myself. I've seen the blossoming and the growing that's happened from downtown, and it definitely helped heal a lot of that burnout. And
that's really good.
Yeah.
How is, we talked about your mom not necessarily 100% being on board in the beginning. Is your family on board now?
My parents, well, it was kind of both of them. They were definitely on board with my dreams and aspirations, but I mean, you grew up in a very religious household as well. So finding my own voice, finding my own, like, just confidence in being myself. And then at the same time, like, they're your parents, you know, so you love them. And like, the last thing you want to do is disappoint them, but like, you also want to be yourself. So we grow together. Okay. Yeah. And I feel like we're not done. And I feel like there's probably going to be more things down the road that make them uncomfortable. But we've had really good conversations too about just how we look at things differently, and I've accepted that, and I still love them, and they still love me, and they want to support me in the ways that they feel confident doing that, and it's helped me feel even more confident. I call myself a recovering people pleaser, so I'm like helping myself, you know, trust myself and learn, you know, to listen to my intuition and be authentic to who I am.
Well, you never want, like, obviously the music industry gets a bad rep for, like, you have to sell your soul to, you know, make it big. And it's like, there's truth to that. And there's also a lot of false in that, you know what I mean? And so, but growing up the way that we did, like a little bit more controlled and religious and stuff like that, I could see that being like a big point of contention of like, I don't want you to wear that. I don't want you to sing that. I don't want you to be in that environment every night. You know what I mean? But it's also like that is where you have to be to get the job done, you know?
Yeah, I think it's also so much how you look at it, because selling your soul, like I know that's like such a huge,
that's what they all like say. And it's just like,
and the truth in my opinion is like, you could sell your soul to any industry.
100%.
You know, so if you're authentic, if you're doing things that are in your heart and being yourself, I don't think that that's selling your soul. I think that that's you finding your soul or like nourishing your soul. And not everybody's going to agree with that. You know, it's like politics. Like you can argue back and forth all day long about like what's right or what's wrong. And the truth is, like, everybody that has an opinion, like, they really believe in that. So for me, like, it's my career to this point has been finding the courage of my own opinions and my own, you know, what moves me. And I love Lady Gaga. I love Katy Perry. I love Rihanna. They're obviously like, you know, the sexier, like, just Doja Cat. Like, I love everything that they do. Yeah. But I also see the backside too of what they do and how much they love community and take care of people around them. And, you know,
I agree. Everything is selling your soul. We literally had an episode, you know, in the past where we talked about like, you know, doing that, the sacrifices of entrepreneurship and like, just owning a business, you're selling your soul to the business. You know what I mean? It's like you can say that about anything and everything. So I agree. It doesn't always have to be true. And I love that so much of what you've been sharing today has been from that place of saying, I'm trying to find out what is me. And it sounds like you are not letting the music industry tell you who you are or what you should be, but instead you're being like, no, I'm trying to always recenter. Does this fit with me? Does this sound like me? Does this, you know, align with me? And I think that is what's going to keep you.
I agree. Well, it's a lot like dating, you know, like if you're dating someone and you put up a front, I think scientifically it's like 90 days. And then you're going to start to see, right? So it's kind of the same thing where like you can be this, and I felt that way in country music. Like I love country music. I think it's amazing. But I had this realization in Nashville when I'd seen some friends that had got inducted in the Grand Ole Opry, and like Trisha Yearwood is, you know, presenting their award or their induction, and they're like, oh, like my childhood self is just, you know, elated. And I'm like, I would be lying if I said that because I didn't grow up listening to that. And country music was like the safer secular genre for me to like dip my toes in. I know my dad really at the beginning wanted me to be a Christian artist, and I don't even know how to describe this either, but in my gut I was like, nope, that's just not for me. And not no shame to anybody that is what they do, but that's just I've even sat down and tried to write Christian songs and they just don't come out. And I know that's not my calling. So really just embracing it, and knowing that I'm going to deliver the same authentic, happy, exciting performance when I'm doing music that does sound like my voice, and I'm not trying to fit into this like Carrie Underwood or Miranda Lambert sort of voice that isn't me, and that's not authentic to who I am.
Okay, tell me a little bit about songwriting. You love it? You don't love it? What's the deal?
Songwriting that's my toxic relationship, I think. Because it's art, you know, like it's not, there's definitely things that you can do to better yourself, to practice and, you know,
turn it on.
Like maintenance, but ideas and creativity, like that's something that comes from life.
Or it doesn't.
So I'm a writer. Words of affirmation is like
your love language?
It is, and I hate it, but because it's gotten me in trouble before. Someone will tell me something. Oh my God, I'm like, but they said this, and it's just, it's not good. But I really value quality songwriting. And that to me, creating a song that I put my stamp on, I'm like, oh, that felt good. That felt complete. Like that's one of the best feelings ever.
Oh, I love that. And you just released a new song.
I did.
Boyfriend.
Yes, I did.
Tell us a little bit about that.
That is probably my first like fully pop
song.
Yes.
Okay, fun.
Yeah. It's so funny because people are like, who's the bad boyfriend? Like they want to know.
Who is it?
I'm like, it's all of them. No. I'm like, it's a type of person. It's like the fuck boys. And there's fuck girls out there too, so I don't discriminate, but just that type of person that like they think they're the shit. And they're not. They're just a bad boyfriend. You're like, you're behaving this way, thinking that you're like cool as shit, but you're just an awful person, and like you don't treat people well.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, so it's just like a spicy little song that
you can have fun with when you sing. Okay, I like it. What has been one of your biggest accomplishments so far in your music career?
Oh, wow. Biggest accomplishments. I think staying in Nashville.
Oh.
A lot of people move there.
A
lot of people leave there.
And
I'm always drawn to the people that are like in it for the long haul. And I think, especially during the pandemic, I watched a lot of people, and there's no shame again in anybody's life choices, but I watched a lot of people kind of give up on their dream. It was like a good out. And for me, I was like, I'm going to sing at any place that'll have me and whatever I have to do to keep my lights on. So I think that
is something to be proud of.
That's probably what I'm most proud of. Yeah.
Yeah. Longevity in this industry is tough. So you should be proud of that. I think that's huge.
You.
Obviously, Nashville has become a huge bachelorette city. It is like the bachelorette capital of the world, right?
Yes.
With that, I'm presuming that you get a lot of diverse audiences who are coming in to see you. So how do you like prepare for that? How do you deal with like an audience who you're like, they are not vibing right now? Or like, how do you get them bought in? Like, how do you kind of assess and attack?
That's a great question. I think that's actually something that I also really pride myself on in my band as well. The guys that I hire them with the intention of we can do every genre.
Okay.
So part of my spiel is that like we do everything from country to rock to rap to pop, and we do.
Okay.
And a big part of my job is reading the room.
Yeah.
As a recovering people pleaser, it's very easy for me to see when people are unhappy, what's going to make them happy. So I definitely use that to my advantage. If it's a country crowd, I'm like, all right, boys, buckle up, here we go, right? Or typically we try to do, my goal is actually to make it through a show without playing the Man, I Feel Like a Woman, or the, songs that everybody's always asking for. Okay. I want to play songs that people are like, I forgot about that song. And I love that song. And they're all, one song in particular was Every Time We Touch by Cascada.
Yeah.
We started playing that and everybody was, the way that it unified the crowd and how excited they were because they haven't heard it in any other bar.
Right.
So that's always a win too, if I'm adding a song into the mix and seeing like how well it hits.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
So do you come in kind of with an idea of a set list, or do you just kind of like start with something and then vibe?
I have a roadmap is what I call it, but we go off of requests too, which is fun.
Yeah.
For me, I get bored easily, so it's very fun if people have like different requests that are unique or fun for us to try.
Yeah.
And kind of help us guide where things are going to go. But for the most part, I have this like roadmap that we start with, and I'll read the room. In the beginning, if it's slammed, I know the block of songs that we're going to start with. Okay. So I'm like, okay, I can see this is what the crowd's getting into.
Yeah.
Usually when we're sound checking, they have house music on, so I kind of see what people are singing along to, and then I know the like dead ringer songs that
people will go for,
hit every time.
Yeah.
So
that's really fun. Okay, I know something you're kind of doing on the side is helping coach other musicians. And I think a couple of things we've covered, you staying authentic to you not letting them tell you who you are, but you saying, no, this is who I am, and testing things out, you learning, these audiences, and having failed attempts of people promising you stuff and over and over and over again, in my mind would make you an amazing coach, because it's like you have all these things you've been through to be able to tell a fresh new singer like, hey, this is what you're going to deal with.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and get prepared. Like, this is going to be quite the ride, right? So what has that been like, and what kind of brought you to that? And do you focus only in Nashville, or are you kind of willing to talk to anybody?
That's a great question as well. I started doing voice lessons actually back in like 2012, I think. And I felt so underqualified. I'm like, I didn't go to school for this. I don't know what to do. But I'd won the voice competition. Their competition. And so I was the coach not the coach. There was a woman that had like a facility for different lessons, and she needed a vocal coach. Okay. So she told me that she would promote me as, this contestant from The Voice, and it would get me these students. And the authentic part of me was like, okay, well, I'm going to give them what I got. And I would always talk to the parents, be like, this is where I'm coming from. But everything's based off of experience for me, as opposed to like getting a, on paper education. Yeah. And at that time, I learned that I really could do that. And I had students that would just, when I was like ready to quit, they were like, we'll pay you extra. We want to keep working with you. Like they would follow me around. So that made me feel really good. And time went by, and then here I'm back in Nashville, and just thinking of other ways to like bring in extra sources of income. Yeah. That was something that I thought, okay, I can do that, at least put it out there. And I'm selective of the people I work with now, just because I want to make sure it's great transaction on both ends. That like it feels like I'm investing in someone that's actually like serious about it. Yep. And I'm not taking away from what I'm doing, but it's something that's kind of like in harmony with that. Yeah. So I always tell them, like, I'm giving you the like Broadway boot camp, version of, and it seems to work. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
When I took music lessons as a kid, I remember hating my piano lessons because it was always like boring songs, you know? So and I wish that I had stuck with that because that's an instrument that I want to get better at. But now as an instructor, it's important to me that the kids are having fun.
Yeah.
Or my students are having fun, that they feel like they're singing songs that make them light up. Yeah. And they're like, one of the best feelings too is like breakthrough moments.
Yeah.
When they discover a part of their voice. It's like finding a superpower they didn't know they had.
Yeah.
So just being a part of that process is like
amazing.
It's an incredible experience. Yeah.
That's really fun. And I agree because I feel like unfortunately with music, there's so many people who really want to become musicians or singers or artists. And then they join the school choir or something and they're singing like old songs or like, you know, and some of it can be fun, but it's like, that's not what I'm singing when I'm at home in my shower, when I'm at home practicing my room. I want to sing that song, you know, like I want to know how to become good at that, not this song from the 80s or this like hymn or something, you know?
Right.
And it's good to learn the skills, but it doesn't get you excited about it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So it's important to me in the first lesson. And I've also learned in the first lesson, it takes a lot for someone to like
sing,
to let their voice out because it's such a personal instrument. I'm a Cancer, so I think that that's like what I've learned anyways, like gives me this very disarming sort of presence.
Yeah.
So that's been like a lot of the feedback I've had is that people feel really comfortable around me.
Okay, good.
I also am like not afraid to get weird and I'm like, hey, like I'll make weird sounds with my voice too. So like you can know this is so normal. It's just a part of figuring out your toolbox and what's in there and how it all works. Yeah.
I love that. Is there any advice you would give to someone who is saying like, it is my dream, it is my life's mission to become a singer and they want to take a similar path to you to get to Nashville, get to New York, get to LA, wherever it is that they're like, this is going to take me to that next step. Any advice that you would give them?
Put out my Ted Lasso mustache and say, believe and don't give up. Like that's the advice I've heard from the beginning as well, as you just can't stop. You have to keep going. You have to keep trying. Don't quit. Burnout is real. It happens, but a lot of times it happens for you to help you realize where you need to adjust. Keeping a positive attitude is hard at times because there's a lot of jaded people in this industry, but if it's in your soul, like it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So
the beautiful thing also, I think, is that if your voice is your instrument, like with music in general, I mean, even knowing how to play guitar, knowing how to play piano, no one can take that from you.
Right.
Like you have it. It's a skill that you have, you've harnessed, you've perfected, and things can change, right?
Yeah.
But it's yours. Mm-hmm. And that's a really, really beautiful thing that is super unique. No one can sing exactly like you know?
Right.
So it's really fun to say like, that's your business. Like it's like something incredibly unique and special for you that no one else has. Like other people, when they're creating a business, they're like, how do I put my special sauce on it? Like yours literally is special sauce.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody has that special sauce. It's who they are. And when you are yourself, no matter what industry you're in, when you are 100% operating, I think it's a C.S. Lewis quote too, about 9 times out of 10, if you're trying to be authentic, it's never going to happen. But if you just tell your truth, if you are just you, every time it's going to be authentic. And that is what people gravitate towards because there's a confidence in authenticity and there's a sense of just knowing and a sense of groundedness and following your intuition that is infectious and it does click with people and it resonates and it carries because you can be you forever. Yeah. But you can't be,
someone else.
Right.
You can't fake it. 90 days, they'll find you out.
Exactly.
Okay, what is next for you? Where can we find you next? Where can we hear you next? What is going on in the world of Laura Walsh?
What is next? The holidays. I'm trying to actively, my boyfriend was telling me you need to focus on the holidays and enjoy them. Yes. But marketing is probably where I struggle the most just because I'm juggling so many hats. So one of the things I'm trying to focus on next year is really marketing my song Bad Boyfriend because I do really believe in it. And I know that song has a lot of
legs. It's going to work.
Yes, it does. Yeah. So that's going to be something. So if you haven't heard it, definitely check it out, stream it. And I'll be in Nashville. I will definitely be in Nashville.
I love it. Where can we hear Bad Boyfriend?
On every streaming platform.
Okay.
Spotify, Apple Music.
Awesome. Check it out. We'll put it in the show notes. Yes. I love it. And where can people find you?
My handle on pretty much every social media platform is Laura Walsh Music.
Awesome.
So find me on all the socials. I usually post my schedule. I'm trying to get in the TikTok
realm. Okay.
Yeah, TikTok is its own beast, but yeah.
It seriously is. It seriously is. It's a lot of fun, but it is a whole nother component, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for
It was a lot of
having
fun.
me.
Our
Yes.
first rock star.
Oh.
I love it. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Young Boss Podcast with your host, Isabel Garino. Be sure to like, share, and follow on Instagram and TikTok, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And let me know, has singing, music always been your dream? Remember, youth is your power.